Welcome everyone to Sports Nutrition and Wellness Innovation at MIT. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you all, innovators in this space, nascent space with a lot of things happening. And the important questions that we are all trying to understand, they are both professional, obviously, and potentially lucrative, but are also, I think, intensely personal in this case. You know, will we live longer? Do we have the tools to put that in place? Are there exciting new trends in wellness that will make us, get rid of annoying digestive issues? These are, sometimes life-changing problems. These are other times they're just nuisances that you can maybe now solve with technology, with nutrition, with a lot of different approaches. The science is certainly fast-moving in this space. We are hoping to tackle all of these things today. We have an array of We have some scientists here. We have a bunch of startups. We certainly have industry interested in this space, and they come from a lot of different places. They are not always the most typical, players that you would think. We have people here from Whirlpool. We have people from Gore, from performance wear, and other multinationals that are interested in the wellness space. My name is Trond. I lead the MIT Startup Exchange. For many of you who have been to our events before, you know that this is a service of the Corporate Relations Office at MIT. We have started to get very engaged in matchmaking between industry and startups. It turns out that those two quite divergent players have a lot to speak to each other about. And these events are one attempt for us to create this sort of semi-open arena to create and foster partnerships and collaboration between startups, industry, and obviously academia. So all of the startups you'll see here on stage are founded with and have an MIT connection at the founder level. So let me just give you a quick sense of what other things we are putting on here. Startup Exchange works with any technology and any startup that comes out of MIT. That means we have these monthly events in many, many areas. Today we're covering wellness, nutrition, and sports, and maybe sensor technology and other things. On other days, and in fact our next upcoming event is on synthetic biology. The one after that will be on robotics and drones. We just finished an energy storage innovation event. And we will subsequently tackle all kinds of topics. In December, we are trying to take a crack at cancer again, renewables, water, 3D printing. These are very, very exciting areas, and MIT has young and old startups in all of these spaces, and we certainly have industry coming to campus interested in all of these technologies and products coming from them. As of this moment, the network around Startup Exchange is about 230 large companies that have been part of MIT's Industrial Liaison program, many of them for years. This is a program that's been in existence since actually for 75 years. So this kind of collaboration is not new to MIT, definitely. But the new idea and the new concept of Startup Exchange is to very, very explicitly connect not just to campus faculty, which, they were always very, very innovative, but we have now established this direct channel to startups. And we are, at this moment, in touch with 1,200 startups. There are arguably many, many more if you count the alumni population at MIT, and maybe even some faculty who haven't yet discovered us. So we are confident that this number is going to grow. But I think you will agree with us that 1,200 is already sort of an interesting statistical sample. So it means we have a pretty good idea about what's happening on campus across a wide array of areas. We made about 300 introductions last year. It's not a goal for us to increase that number per se. What we want, obviously, is to have some outcomes out of those introductions. And we'll be telling you more about that in the weeks and months to come. Already introduced the events. One thing that is new of this year, and we are just as of today up to our full capacity in the new accelerator program, we discovered one thing, and that is working with 1,200 startups is a lot of work. It's kind of challenging to stay in touch with all of these. Obviously, we can't stay in as close touch with each of those. I would say we're probably more actively working with about 200. But even within that, you could maybe imagine that spending an enormous amount of energy on 200 startups also is hard to scale. So we established this accelerator program. It's very distinct from many other accelerators. I wanted to point that out. This is not a residential program. We don't give away any money. So at that point, you may say, what do you do? Well, we are 100% focused on high-level, high-quality introductions. That is all we do, nothing else. The good thing about that is it makes it very focused. We don't have to worry about the money side. We clearly are in touch with some people with very deep pockets and others with very willing pockets. Those are wonderful things to have in the network. But we focus on making the introductions. And then what happens after the introductions, that's something we don't really have to worry so much about. We just celebrate the successes. I don't have a list of those here for all of you today, but there's now, as I said, we have had a trial over the last year with about 14 in the program. We will very shortly announce the full cohort of 25. It's a rolling cohort. You can enter the program only by nomination. So if you know someone who's a department head at MIT that's willing to nominate you, then you become in the running for this program. I would highly recommend it. Next time maybe we'll have some on stage who can testify as to the success of that kind of program, but there have been a lot of client engagements and partnerships fostered through that program. And they represent some of the most exciting things that are going on campus across all these areas. So why would corporations get involved? Because after all, this is not just a startup program. The name says Startup Exchange, but what we're exchanging is interests that are also very, very relevant to corporations. Uncovering innovation needs, just speaking to innovative new startups can be a value in and of itself, I think, for many corporations. Partnerships could lead to changes in the way you think about new products, think about acquisitions perhaps, or perhaps discover ideas that aren't as innovative in your current arsenal as you thought they might be. So there are multiple ways for corporations to engage. The only rules of engagement are we can actually only work with corporations that are members of the Industry Liaison Program. So in that sense, it's sort of a closed network. But it's easy to become a member. There's just a small fee. And there are people in this room that can explain how that works. Anyway, just to give you a little teaser about some of these other startups, we have in the accelerator, one of the startups, Poly6, has produced this citrus-derived, basically it's like lemon peel. And this material can be used for a multitude of things, even creating thin film that can be potentially used for a cell phone screen, and you will find the founder on stage eating this thing. So it's just an example of completely changing the expectations about what a material can do. And that's just one example. We also in this portfolio have a company that does 3D printing of metals, which brings about all kinds of science fiction ideas about what that's going to engender in terms of manufacturing at a very advanced scale, but even space travel and all that kind of thing, because you can engender and create very advanced materials essentially on the fly. I think that's all we have time for right now.